And welcome to the HSGameTime LIVE Blitz Week 8 edition. I'm Pep Fernandez. This is Kyle Glazer. And our very special guest on the end, head coach from Paloma Valley, Bert Esposito. And Kyle, I guess Coach Esposito kind of has a big game on Friday.
Definitely, Coach. You got the Menifee Bowl. Fox Sports West is coming to town. How much feedback you're getting from the community about how much this game means?
Well, everybody in the community is pretty excited about it. The school's excited about it. Faculties from both schools. Everybody probably but us on the field. We're keeping things calm and
business as usual?
Absolutely, absolutely.
So Heritage has never lost a Sun Belt League game. From your perspective, how have they been so successful? What makes them so tough to face?
They're very physical, very physical. They got some dudes, and they bring it, and they've developed a mold after the years, throughout the years, of just coming after people. And, you know, you can't practice against that. It's a mentality they have, and they build on it, and they've slowly built up with schools in the off-season or preseason that have really pushed them, and it shows.
Coach, obviously you guys are undefeated going into this game. What's been the key to your guys' success this year?
One game at a time. Honestly, it's just, you know, we face different challenges every week, and, you know, we're not a team of over-powerful kids or extremely fast, but we are a team. And so we have to do different things every week to prepare for who we're playing, and our kids really stepped up, and we've met the challenges, and this Friday night will just be another challenge.
And Coach, you talked about just gearing up for the postseason. We saw what you guys did last year, making the CIF semifinals. So I know a Sun Belt League title would be very nice and a knockoff Heritage, but the goal is kind of just be prepared, be healthy, I guess, for the playoffs and make another great push.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that's how it is every year. You know, the league titles are nice. You know, you put a banner up and all that, but realistically, we're looking down the line, and we just look at every week, just getting better, staying healthy, getting some kids back that were injured, and you know, seeing if you can make the push when the time's right.
Now, Coach, a lot of people know about your quarterback, Brent Baum. They also know about Kraig Webb, your sack artist, if you will. Who's maybe someone on Paloma Valley that not a lot of people know about but has been very important to your success this year?
There's no doubt, Michael Valencia. He's our wide-out receiver, and he catches a touchdown about every 2 out of 3 catches. And he's, I think he's leading the county in receptions for touchdowns right now, and he also has 5 interceptions. So on both sides of the ball, there's no doubt about it, Michael Valencia has been flying under the radar.
Now, Coach, we got to tell you that we also invited Kraig Broach from Heritage. He had to decline. He had a family deal on Wednesday night tonight that he couldn't make it to our Blitz show. So we're going to ask a couple more questions. Obviously, you'll have the Paloma Valley perspective. But luckily, I know enough about Heritage that I'm going to defend the Patriots on the show. I will be Kraig Broach for the sake of this show, and I'll talk about the Patriots. So, Kyle, go ahead and fire off some questions for Coach Esposito and I. I'm now Kraig Broach.
All right, Coach, tell me why Paloma Valley will beat Heritage on Friday.
Well, first of all, I lost a lot of respect for you right there. No, I'm just messing with you. Because we just believe in what we do, and our kids have really stepped up in the games they've needed to, and they'll be prepared. And, you know, I just think that we'll be able to do what we need to do to take care of business.
Now, Coach Broach, tell me why Heritage will beat Paloma Valley.
Well, first I got to tell you that your guy Eric Paul Johnson in the newspaper said that Paloma Valley was scoring 35 points per game. And that's true, and I got a heck of a lot of respect for Coach Esposito over there, but we're also scoring 35 points per game as well. So we got a great offense too. I love that Bebo kid over there that plays quarterback for the Wildcats, but you know what? We got a couple of Hefos. We got a little Brett Virgil running around. We've got Evan Rodriguez and Matthew Palmer. I really like our team. We're 17-0 in the Sun Belt League, and I think we're going to stay that way, Kyle.
Coach, what would you say is the biggest sign of the rivalry in the community that you've come across over the past week or so?
Gosh, it's hard to say because like I said, we've been in a bubble. We really haven't paid attention to anything out there, and it's been by choice that we don't really care what's going on out there. So honestly, it's been real quiet at Paloma.
All right, Coach, how about things over at Heritage? How have things been looking out there in Roma land when it comes to facing Paloma Valley?
Kyle, I have a question for you.
Okay.
Have you seen the movie Talladega Nights with Ricky Bobby?
Yes, I have.
and it's all about winning, right, and being number one. Well, at Heritage, we're just trying to be number one like Ricky Bobby. He's my favorite sports star, and we're just trying to be number one in the Sun Belt League once again. We're working our tails off because we know head coach Bert Esposito is going to have the Wildcats ready for the big Menifee Bowl, but I like what we're doing out there in Romo land, and we're going to be ready for them.
All right, Coach. Now, going back to the injuries a little bit, you've had a couple of injuries. You mentioned C.J. Parker out for the year, but you've had guys step up. You just mentioned Matthew Valencia. The depth, it seems like, it's stepped up this year. How do you feel like the backups have come into their own this season?
Well, they've been forced to step up. When you get some injuries like we've gotten, you just have to step up. And really, I think the chemistry of our team, the ability of all of our kids to encourage each other all the time, and nobody really takes offense if someone takes their spot. We've given of ourselves to our teammates, and I think our younger guys, when the opportunity came, they're like, sure, we'll do whatever it takes. So hopefully this Friday night they're going to pull through on that.
And then, Coach Broach, as far as depth, it seems like you have at least 2 new HEFOs every single year.
I do?
How nice is that, having a new HEFO come in every year?
Which ones do I got this year?
You got Limhi, Alevo, I think is.
That sounds about right. I got.
In the past. Seems like there's a new HEFO every couple of years.
There is. There was a Marvin HEFO I had last year. I think he's gone, but I've got a couple HEFOs on the team, and if you've got a HEFO, you got a chance. That's what we say in the Broach family. If you got a HEFO, you got a chance.
Does the H on the helmet stand for HEFO?
I think you're right, Coach Esposito. I think the H stands for a HEFO. And there's a couple more coming up through the system. We've got Chad Virgil 2.0 with little Brett Virgil running around. So we've got a lot of football families out there at Heritage. So we're feeling really good.
Family fair. Coach, you guys have any family or sibling stuff going on at PV?
We have over the years. Like Valencia's older brother played for me, and a couple other kids have played for me. But not as many as the HEFOs, that's for sure.
We got a lot.
Are you sick of facing HEFOs yet?
Well, it's funny. Years ago, they actually played for me. We had a couple that played for me before Heritage opened up. So I'm not sick of them. I mean, they're a good family and they do what they do well. But yeah.
When I say sick of them, I mean, they're all really, really good. So it's got to be annoying seeing that, the HEFOs never leave. They're always there and they're always good.
Yeah, I mean, that does play in the back of my mind, no doubt about it. But, I guess I don't associate Heritage without HEFO. So it's just the way it is.
And Lima High actually calls, Pep Fernandez at HS Game Time?
Yes.
Do you work with him?
Yes.
Is he really as cool and as dreamy as he looks?
Half and half.
Okay,
Depends
well,
on the
anyway,
day.
Lima High calls him Uncle Pep. I don't know why, but he does. So.
All right, Coach Broach, thank you for joining us.
Hey, thanks, man. We're going to stay undefeated in the Sun Belt. Can't wait to play.
Coach, you've got a goatee. Coach Broach has a goatee. Are you guys, getting some playoff beards in order here down the stretch?
Nah, not really. It's just something I've always done, and the worst part about having them is as the years have gone on, it's become white, and so I have to keep shaving it short so it doesn't look so white, and so it has nothing associated with them. But if it keeps working, I'll do whatever. I know the kids have said, if we were able to win CIF this year, would I dye the little stripe down my head?
Really?
Yeah.
Did you agree to that?
Of course. Of course. I don't have much hair left anyway.
That's
so it doesn't
motivation for your
matter.
guys, right? I mean, it's like, well, we want the CIF ring. That's nice. But we want to see Coach.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. They always want to see me looking stupid or dumb.
So it'd be like, what, a mohawk, I guess, and you'd color it?
Be red, maroon.
I'm going to write that. Can I write that down right now?
Ahead. I'll do anything at that point.
Red mohawk, CIF, Paloma Valley. So we can document this. So we can come back to this.
Sounds good. Set in stone, Coach. We'll even film it.
Yeah, we will. You let us know. We'll come down. We'll get video of it.
No doubt. No doubt.
All right, Coach. Thank you so much for joining us, and good luck this week. The Menifee Bowl, Friday, 7 p.m. Should be a great one.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Coach Esposito. Thanks for being a good sport. We appreciate it. Thank you.
Safe drive back.
Yeah, Coach is running off to go back to practice. He's actually got his Wildcats on the field on Wednesday night for a Wednesday night practice, so he's going to go back there and get his Wildcats ready for Heritage. And as we mentioned in the beginning, Kraig Broach, the head coach at Heritage, had a family obligation on Wednesday night, so he couldn't make it. So we had a little fun, and hopefully he thought it was as funny as I did, at least. So, let's move on a little bit. We're going to have Mindy Cowles on in just a second, a softball star. A lot of softball people will recognize the name
From
Mindy
the
Cowles.
Arizona State University, another fellow Sun Devil.
Kyle loves all this stuff, all these Arizona State stars coming
I feel
through
right
here.
back at home.
So we're going to get her on the show, and then we're going to continue with all the football chatter, because the Menifee Bowl, Kyle, is actually just one of several big rivalry games coming up, and we're going to talk about rivalries in general and some of the best in the area. So, you know what? Let's go ahead and just tackle that real quick. You and I were going to list our top 5 rivalries, right? I don't know if did you have them in particular order or just 5 of the best?
You know, I tried to put them in particular order. I
Okay.
think you can argue, flip, 2 and 3. It's not hard and fast. But Pep, what was the rivalry that first jumped into your mind?
Now, last week I unveiled to everyone that I married a girl from Redlands, right? So long before I even moved down to Southern California, I heard about Redlands and Redlands East Valley. And we actually did a poll question last year online of what was the best rivalry in the Inland Empire, and it was the Smudge Pot game. So for the simple fact is, that I married a terrier, I'll still go with the Smudge Pot, Reverend Redlands.
You know what? I also had Reverend Redlands. I had them at number 3, and I'll tell you why in a second. But nonetheless, that's one of the best rivalries out there. The number 1 rivalry for me was actually Norco Centennial. And the reason is because growing up in Southern California, but not in the Inland Empire, Norco and Centennial were 2 schools that had clout well beyond the inland area. 2 of the very few schools where you'd heard of them growing up in San Diego or in Orange County. Every year, these programs produce Division I caliber players, top-of-the-line coaching staffs. The big guys come out, television, college coaches. So, to me, Norco Centennial is the top rivalry around just because of the quality of it.
All right, Kyle, real quick, we'll go through the rivalries. I'll give you my top 4 as Mindy Cowles sits down. We get ready to talk to her. I've got, after the Smudge Pot, I've got the War for the Wheel, Beaumont Banning, right?
Yep.
Really old. First man invented the wheel, then the War for the Wheel. That's how old that rivalry. At number 4, who do you got?
I have Pauley Ramona, the oldest battle in the city of Riverside, and it's something Mindy's been a part of. That's one of the better rivalries around. I'm kind of a sucker for history.
I went with Pauley North just because they're in the same league now, and they're both old schools. And then at number 5, another new rivalry that's actually ending this season.
2 schools going at it, and the energy surrounding it, I think, is one of the best atmospheres around.
All right, another new rivalry is around the corner at the Colton Grand Terrace. We'll talk about that next. But first, a very special treat as we have Mindy Cowles on.
Yeah, she graduated in 08, correct?
08, yeah.
So, yeah, she was a senior when I was a sophomore.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, good stuff. So, first of all, Mindy, gotta ask, being an NCAA champion, no matter what your sport's got to be the most thrilling experience around. Just what was that emotion?
And we failed bad, and then went back and we kind of did better my junior year. And then to get it my senior year was so emotional. I never got more excited about softball, even when I went to the pros and to Italy after. It just never was the same. The competition level just was never the same. It's over to kind of get the sport to be a lot bigger out there, like it is here in the States. But it's not at the competition like it is here, especially here in California. Yeah.
You also got to play professional softball, the NPSF. How was that?
That was a lot of fun, just because you grow up in high school and in college, and you're always playing against all these really great girls and girls you look up to. And then when I went to the professional league out in Chicago for the Bandits, I actually got to play with these girls. So it was kind of neat, and it was just 1 year, so I still I cherished every time I was on the field with some of these girls. It was just kind of exciting, an exciting experience.
Mindy, what do you remember about Riverside Poly and just the talent level that we see here in the inland area? Because softball at the high school level around here is very good, right?
Yes, it's very good. Here in the Inland Empire, it's only getting stronger now. You see softball on almost every other car you drive by now, which is weird to me because back then I feel like it wasn't as big. And then you look at the travel ball teams, and there's tons out there right now. When I was here, there's Dynasty here in the Inland Empire. Now there's about 16, 17 teams I've never even heard of. But just playing at Poly, you got to see a lot of the talent. And then I actually played against Taryn Mowat in Santiago. And then I got to go to college with her. And it was weird because we were in the same league in high school. And we got to be in the same league in college. So that was kind of neat.
And then, obviously we see you out here training a lot of young softball players. What are some of the fundamental things you try and teach girls as they're just beginning to start playing?
I'm kind of just teaching the basics as far as hitting and catching, just the basics of getting their glove down, and then more overall just having fun and learning how to play with their teammates and communicate with their teammates. And then I just want to give back what I got. And I didn't have a facility like this to train in when I was training at that age, so it's kind of neat what we have going here.
And Mindy, do you have a group waiting for you in a second?
Yeah, I have this group warming up right here.
Okay,
all right. So we're gonna let her go because she's actually got work to do here at Adrenaline. They're training some of the
Thank you so much.
future softball stars. Mindy, you're the best.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Mindy.
You did great.
I did.
She was a little nervous, not a lot, just a little bit, but she did great. She's a natural.
You know, she's used to being on ESPN, College World Series, the whole deal, and
This is
hitting home
nothing.
runs on national TV. This is nothing.
This is nothing. As Bert Esposito was telling us off camera, we're kind of like the hole in the wall. We're low budget, but we get it done. We try to do a good job with what we have.
There we go.
All right. Hey, Kyle, if you look behind us, a lot of these kids training have pink on. In fact, look, there's a girl right over here has breast cancer awareness socks. Do you see it right here?
Absolutely.
So Leonard Russell and the entire crew here at Adrenaline are working these kids out. And as we mentioned, some of them have pink on. It is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and I'm sure some of the high school football games that you've seen, right? A lot of pink?
Yeah, throughout the area, it's been everywhere. You know, from Redlands to the Corona area. I haven't been down to the Southwest, but I know I've seen pictures. They're down there too. It really is a huge thing, and not just locally. I mean, nationally. At almost every sporting event you turn on, there's some symbol.
Yeah, and it's great to see local high school teams getting involved. Now, last night down in the Southwestern League, Vista Murrieta played Chaparral in volleyball, and it was a match that was benefiting breast cancer awareness. And we actually have a little story and some highlights from that match that the Pumas gutted out a very close win against the longtime favorites in the league, Vista Murrieta. Let's head down to Chaparral. The Pumas at home for Vista Murrieta in a Play for the Cure match, benefiting breast cancer awareness, the Kim Horton Scholarship Foundation, and Michelle's Place Cancer Support Center in Temecula. The Broncos are the three-time defending Southwestern League champs, and they got off to a strong start, defeating Chaparral in the first game. Amanda Peterson-Henry with a tip for the point, and then it's Peterson-Henry coming up with the kill as Vista Murrieta takes the first set 25-23. Fast forward to the fourth. The Pumas now leading 2-1. Hannah Rolfe finds Julia Cubbage on the back set. Count it! Cubbage puts it home. Chaparral defeats Vista Murrieta 3-1. The Pumas improved to 2-3 in league play with a big win against the Broncos.
I think just by looking at them and seeing on their faces, I think it's a big pickup. And we feel we can beat anybody in this league, and I think there's 4 or 5 other teams that think the same way. So it's going to be real interesting, second half of the season. I think it's going to get tighter. I think the race is going to get tighter, especially if we start playing the way we're capable of.
Well, they were on top last year, so beating them's a big deal to us. I mean, after coming off our losses, it's kind of a big deal. I guess it kind of brings us back into things, like round 2 for everyone to beat Great Oak and TV.
Yeah.
I think it brings us back up from those losses.
All right, so a great win for Chaparral last night as they try to stay in the hunt for a Southwestern League volleyball title and for a great cause down there. A lot of the Southwestern, Riverside Southwestern area schools, not just the Southwestern League, the Sunbelt League as well, lending their support to breast cancer awareness. All right, Kyle, we're going back to football, talking rivalries in a relatively young rivalry, Colton Grand Terrace, and it's a rivalry because they're in the same city, and they also share the same coach in a roundabout way with Harold Strauss coming from the Yellow Jackets.
Yeah, you have same coach, a lot of the same teachers, a lot of the same administrators, players, brothers, as we'll get to in a second. I mean, this is a rivalry that's only 2 years old, but it hits home for a lot of folks. And I think someone told me that Grand Terrace essentially seceded from Colton. That was sort of how it worked. So there's not a lot of love lost in terms of the cities and the schools. So I think that's one of those rivalries like a Citrus Hill King, like a Menifee Heritage versus Menifee Paloma Valley. It's young, but it's fierce.
Yeah, because of that proximity, definitely. And just a couple years in, I mean, the Titans are already good. That's what makes this really juicy now.
Colton's got a lot of history there toward the late 2000s. They had a lot of success, a lot of future pros, and Grand Terrace now is going to enter this game tied for first place in the Sunkist League. If Colton wins, then they become tied for second in the Sunkist League. So, I mean, this isn't just a rivalry game that is just between these two teams. This is something that's going to have an effect on the Central Division playoffs.
Absolutely, a lot on the line in this game on Friday. And we were talking earlier about Keylon Bradford. Now, if his last name rings a bell, it's because his older brother is Alan Bradford, a linebacker for the New York Giants. And there's Harold Strauss. Strauss coached Alan Bradford at Colton in the mid-2000s, and now he has Keylon at Grand Terrace. So he jumped the school from Colton to Grand Terrace, Coach Harold Strauss, but he still has the same brothers. I talked to head coach Strauss about the two brothers a little bit, and he said they both have that same desire to go out there and win. You can't really teach that, just to want to go out there and just be a winner. If you saw Keylon here in the video, he's lot leaner, taller. Coach thinks he might be 6'5" when it's all said and done. So
I would have loved to have been 6'5". I stopped at 5'10". Kind of frustrating.
Well, he's still young. He told me he's like 6'2" right now with size 14 shoes, cleats, and he's still growing. Allen's a little more stockier and bigger build, but I'm sure the good genetics run in the family. I'm sure he's going to be a great player.
Absolutely. Like I said, that's just one of, I'm sure there's a lot of examples of just, a lot of people in this game are going to have a tie between the two schools, and that's what's going to make this so fierce and so interesting.
All right, another big rivalry, Kyle. La Sierra versus Norte Vista. And like the Colton Grand Terrace, it's really good now because La Sierra has turned that corner. They're 2-0 in River Valley League play. Now the Eagles are a factor when you're talking about a league champion against the defending champion, Norte Vista.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about last week's Norte Vista versus Moreno Valley game being sort of the de facto league championship game, which I stand by. I think that because Norte Vista won that game, they are going to be the league champion. That said, I mean, La Sierra has a chance to throw a wrench into that situation against a longtime rival nonetheless. That's one of the rivalries that could have made our list of top 5 easily. So it's going to be interesting. There's got to be a lot of passion there. Novi's going to go in the heavy favorite, and we'll see if they can pull it off. But like I said, La Sierra, this is going to be one of those games where it's personal for them because they want to beat their rival. And once again, it'll also have an effect on the playoff standings, and I think they would love the idea of, ruining their rivals' playoff chances or league title hopes.
And speaking of those, just playoff positioning and playoff chances, Rim of the World's playing Jurupa Hills in the Mountain Valley League. Now, these are two schools that could probably see each other. I'm going to, probably pencil that in, that they're going to see each other at some point during the playoffs.
Like Rim Banning,
Exactly.
There's no question. I think these are clearly the two best teams from our area in the East Valley Division. San Juan Capistrano, St. Margaret's is the top-ranked team. But Rim of the World, Jurupa Hills, I mean, this is a good battle between two teams, not just in that division, but really in San Bernardino County. Both these programs have actually produced some D1 caliber talent. Jacob Taylor at Rim last year and Damian Wright, the quarterback at Jurupa Hills, is a D1 caliber athlete now. So you're seeing two of the better programs really in San Bernardino County facing off. It'll be a good one that'll decide a lot.
All right, Kyle, let's talk about under the radar guys who are having great seasons. Maybe we're not talking about them enough. And we're going to start here because I've got DJ Wright. His name's Damien, but he goes by DJ, and he's the quarterback of Jurupa Hills. And I say he's under the radar for the simple fact that at the next level, he'll probably be a defensive back. His coach, Ed McMillan, is trying to get him some playing time as a defensive back to get some tape, show some coaches what he can do as an athlete. But so that's why I'm saying he's under the radar for the simple fact that he's a great quarterback, but he might be even better as a defensive back. My two other guys, if I had to pick under the radar, is Heritage defensive back Matthew Palmer, only because when you look at Heritage, I just feel like they have a lot of star power. It's hard to shine when you've got so many great players. And I think Matthew Palmer, week in and week out, is getting the job done. He makes big-time catches. He plays lockdown defense as a defensive back. So I like him as well. And then Great Oak defensive lineman Kevin Knight leads the team in tackles for a loss and sacks. He's going to be a huge part of what Great Oak does for the rest of the season in Southwestern League as well as the playoffs. And we've seen Kevin in the highlights a couple times as well. So who you've got under the radar?
These are guys that, like we talked about, we talk about so many names and so many faces, and sometimes they just fly under the radar. For me, Keon Stevens, defensive back, San Bernardino, leads the state in interceptions.
The state?
The state in interceptions. He has 8 interceptions. 2 of them he's returned to the house for touchdowns. And on top of all that, as if he wasn't an elite defensive back, he also has 34 catches for 572 yards and 5 touchdowns. He also has a rushing touchdown. This is one of those guys who's getting lost because he plays for a team that is 2-5, is going to be at the bottom of a league that's not very well respected. They're kind of tucked away in San Bernardino. This guy, the production he's putting up is elite production. Can't ignore that.
Somebody find this guy. He's great. Who else you got, Kyle?
I also have Terry Clarendon. Now, this is a guy I highlighted before the season. He was an all-league CBL guy last year, but still a lot of people didn't give him any love. Well, guess what? He's second in the state in interceptions with 7, and he's not doing it against, a weak schedule. I mean, he's got his picks against, teams like Carter, Cajon, Colton, Rialto, teams that can score, teams that can throw the ball. And he sealed last week's victory over Cajon with an interception at the goal line, those 7 picks. He also has 54 tackles, 13 passes deflected. I mean, this is a guy he can tackle, gets his hands on the ball a lot, whether it's a pick or a deflection. He's a game breaker back there defensively for Ike.
You love the interceptions. Do you have another DB?
No, my last
Okay.
guy, but it is a guy on defense.
Uh-huh.
You know, we talk about Norte Vista. We talk about a lot of their guys. Joseph Jolly, defensive
Sure.
end with 7 sacks, 60 tackles, even has a pick as a defensive end and a fumble recovery. Came up huge in that game against Moval with 2 sacks and an interception. You know, he's a guy that's really wreaking havoc for Norte Vista back their defense. Like I said, I feel like we talk a lot about their offense with Martinez and Gonzalez and the points they can put up.
Yep.
It's a pretty good defense.
All right, once again, we are live at Adrenaline Athletic Training in Corona. We had the great Mindy Cowles, who's the head softball coach here, joining us. There's some training going on in the background. They start them young. I don't know. I've got a 7-year-old daughter at home. Those girls over there aren't much older than what she is, but you know, I guess if you have that drive, they start them early. I mean, if you want that scholarship.
You know, I mean, it's one of those things. Sometimes you hear about those guys who, you know, don't pick up a sport until they're in high school or college and can get themselves a scholarship. But Igor Olshansky, old Chargers defensive end, didn't play football, I think, until his senior year.
I know.
You know, we have, Ziggy Ansah, I believe, was a guy like that this year in the NFL draft. I mean, there's a lot of guys like that who, you know, bloom late. But then there are a lot of people who have been playing since they were 5, 6, 7. And it's one of the things I've noticed here about Adrenaline is a lot of the athletes they're working with are very young kids, you know, 6, 7, 8, who are just, you know, learning the fundamentals. And in some ways, that's the most important age.
That's where it starts, right? I mean, you got to learn the basics, whether you're doing this just for fun or you're doing this because you actually, you know, want to pursue this sport in your 14, 15.
Once you start a bad habit, it's very hard to get out of it. So it's definitely good to, you know, have the people who have been at the higher levels showing you the correct way to do things so you get used to doing it that way.
Speaking of doing things correctly, they're doing a lot of things right at Vista Murrieta right now. The Broncos
nice transition. I like that. Nice
the nice segue there. The Broncos are playing some great football. Coming off that win against Great Oak, a lot of people were hoping, I think, that the Wolfpack would challenge Vista Murrieta and show the balance of power in the Southwestern League was a little bit closer. But Vista Murrieta is still the cream of the crop, but they've got Murrieta Valley on Friday.
You know, Vista Murrieta, I had no doubt they'd win. I didn't think they win by 40 over Great Oak. I was thinking, maybe 20, 21, maybe 25 at the most. For them to win by 40 just shows, once again, that Vista Murrieta is on a plane all by themselves. And like I said in the pick 'em show, Murrieta Valley can play a great game. They can do everything they want to do and have all these things go right. And they're still probably going to lose by 3 touchdowns. I mean, Vista Murrieta is just on another level. We've been saying it since the beginning of the season. I keep telling people that Cathedral loss was not the bad loss everyone makes it out to be. Vista Murrieta's on a rampage. They're the best team in the inland area, bar none, Corona Centennial included. And, it's almost like, why are we even wasting our time previewing their matchups? We know they're going to win. Doesn't matter who they play until they get to deep into the playoffs. As much as Murrieta Valley is a good team, it's not going to matter.
Yes, the Nighthawks are a good team. They're making strides with Vinny Fazio. But Vista Murrieta, man, that's a tough giant to just knock over when they're owning the league.
We saw it at the Great Oak. It's not like Vista Murrieta's on top of the league, but the other leagues are, nipping at their heels. Vista Murrieta is still in a league of their own.
All right, well, speaking of, here's our HS Game Time top 10 rankings from this week. And as we saw, Vista Murrieta number 1 and Centennial number 2. That hasn't changed from according to the people in the HS Game Time newsroom for years. I think 2010 was the last time that.
I believe Chaparral was the last team to have one of those top spots, and that was 09 or so.
But you know what? We've got a lot of respect for Great Oak and Murrieta Valley. They're still, both of them in the top 7. Great Oak still hanging tough at number 3 because you got to remember the Wolfpack beat Heritage, Rancho Verde, and Murrieta Valley.
And that was one of the things when I'm doing the rankings. I'm like, well, Murrieta Valley and Rancho Verde have better records than Great Oak. But Great Oak beat both of them. What do you do with that? So that was definitely a tricky one, trying to figure out. And once again, I think it also shows the respect for Vista Murrieta that you can beat someone by 40, and no one's going to think the lesser of them.
That's right. And Chaparral cracking our top 10 out of the Southwestern.
Yeah, with Roosevelt losing to Norco, there was definitely a team that was going to drop out. And for me, the question was who gets in. Is it Chaparral or is it San Gorgonio? Who's San Gorgonio? Like I said, I think they're still underrated. I think they are one of our top 10 teams, but they're not in there. But Chaparral, they're 5-2. They're 2 losses, a 3-point loss to an excellent Tesoro team and a loss to perennial power Oceanside. They've won all the rest of their games. Chaparral's a very good team. As I said from the get-go, I could absolutely see Chaparral finishing second in the Southwestern League, beating both Great Oak and Vista Murrieta.
Yeah, Chaparral, Great Oak this Friday should be a great game. And Kyle, some guys hit me up on Twitter from San Gorgonio and said, Where's the love? We're doing everything we're supposed to do. I mean,
this was a discussion we had, and I think the biggest thing with them is you just look at the schedule they've played so far, and beating Yucaipa was a good one. Beating Cajon, I mean, it's solid, but we don't know how good Cajon is really yet. It's tough though when you're playing, Pacific and San Bernardino. On the one hand, you have to win the games you're scheduled to play. On the other hand, beating Pacific 61-0 isn't, going to get you as much as, say, Chaparral, winning, 5 games against the foes they played. I think San G, when they play Carter,
which is next week, not this Friday, but the following.
That's going to be the game where if they win that in blowout fashion, they got to be in the top 10.
Absolutely.
But once again, it's hard to say, with how good the Big 8 is, how good the Southwestern League is, to put any team from the Eastern Division in there, particularly the San Andreas League, which, with all due respect, is probably the weakest league in the Eastern Division, and that includes some of those leagues up in the high desert. San G is an excellent team, but I think that a lot of people want to see them do better against that better competition, and Carter's going to be that test. Carter
will be a great game in Week 9. And I think we've talked about this before on the show that San Gorgonio, we feel like maybe has the best shot to cap off an undefeated season, win CIF, go 13 or 14-0.
And some people, automatically discount, if they played in X League, they do poorly. I don't know about that. I mean, the offensive weapons they have, the depth they have, the speed they have, that's going to play at any level. And really, I think the biggest difference sometimes between those elite teams in the Inland Division and the Eastern Division isn't the athletes, it's the size on the lines.
That's right.
The difference between
that's where it's won.
Right, a 6'4", 330 lineman versus, in the Eastern Division, you'll see some 5'10", 190 linemen. But San Gorgonio, there's no question in my mind, is an elite team. That is the favorite to win the Eastern Division. And once again, I believe is one of our top 10 teams. But I even had trouble ranking them when you just look at their schedule. You look at the schedule.
It's like you want to.
It's like, okay.
You want to put them in there.
They're 7-0, but Norco's 4-3, and their 3 losses have come to, Ranch Cucamonga, Los Osos, and, and Centennial.
Yeah.
While beating Alemany. It's like,
you
kind of have to pick Norco there, and similar with Santiago. I think that if Paloma Valley loses and San G wins, depending on how Paloma Valley loses, if they do, San G can take their spot.
San G's itching to get into the HSGameTime top 10. As we mentioned, a big win against Carter.
A week from now. They got San Bernardino this week, which they should win. I don't know if that's going to be what gets them in. It'll be against Carter.
San G, Citrus Hill in the playoffs. I'm just throwing that out there.
I'm
just throwing that out there. That would be a great matchup.
Add in, Serrano, Oak Hills, even though they lost, Norte Vista with their athletes. The Eastern Division is going to be fun come playoff time. It's not all about the Inland and Central Divisions.
Oh, but it's all about the Inland Division right now, because that's where we're going, Kyle. We're talking about Centennial. They've been on a roll, but you know what? If you want to fight fire with fire and you want to go up against the Huskies' mighty offense, Roosevelt might be that team. They know how to put points on the board. That's who they got on Friday.
They do, but Roosevelt's also having trouble playing defense, which is not good against Centennial. They gave up 49 points to Norco. They gave up 38 against Santiago. I believe they're giving up 33 on the year. And against the Centennial offense that we saw put up 70 last week, in a bad game puts up 40. It's just not a good equation. And once again, it goes back to, while Roosevelt can throw the ball, Centennial's on a level of their own. I don't think anyone can pick against them until they actually lose. Roosevelt has athletes in the secondary. 3 guys that are Division I caliber players in Roberts, Williams, and Evan Tyler, but that hasn't resulted in being able to shut opponents out yet. And Centennial, they're just a finely tuned machine that's going to be really hard to stop.
So we know the Mustangs have the offense, but in your eyes, it's what they do on the defensive side of the ball that's going to really dictate where they go from here for the season.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I think when you look at, okay, what units, if you will, really need to step up these last 3 weeks of the season to get their teams into the playoffs, to me it's the Roosevelt defense for the reasons I stated. They need to step it up because their offense, scored 42 last week, but they gave up 500 rushing yards. You can't have that. Then the other unit that needs to step up in my mind is the Redlands offense. Redlands right now is 2-0. They're in the hunt for a CBL title. They've got Yucaipa, Cajon, and Rev coming up. The defense has allowed 2 touchdowns total in the last 10 quarters.
That's amazing.
Haven't allowed a single point in their last 6 quarters. I mean, they're getting healthy with Cardell Palmer, DJ Biggers. They got a lot of guys. The offense has been struggling a little bit. They had 45 last game, but it took them a little while to get going, and 14 of those points came on defensive plays. So I want to see the Redlands offense step up. So I think if the Redlands offense steps up and the Roosevelt defense steps up, each of these teams can maybe, do something, have an effect on their team's playoff chances. If they don't step up, the teams might be in trouble.
Yeah, because both these teams will be fighting for their playoff lives in the next couple of weeks. as we get a little bit closer to the playoffs after Week 10. So back to the Big 8 League. King is taking on Santiago. Now, we knew King started 6-0, but the real teeth of their schedule was coming up. They lost to Centennial last week. They've got another tough one against Santiago this Friday. So King just really needs to step up and show they can hang with some of these upper echelon teams in the Big 8, right?
And Santiago is supposedly going to get Blake Barnett, their quarterback, and Joe Camarillo, their running back. I mean, they were without those two, and they scored 48 last week on Corona. You remember King beat Corona, but it was close, 21-17. Santiago, without their stars, whooped them. It's going to be tough. We talked about this extensively last show. King is now in, okay, prove to me what you can do mode. They've got to beat one of these teams, Santiago, Norco, Roosevelt.
Their playoff life depends on it, right?
Pretty much. So I think we'll find out a little bit about King. No one expects them to beat Centennial. I think they won't be favored in any of their final 3 games, but I think they have better odds of beating them than they did Centennial. So we have to see if they can pull it off. We'll find out what the Wolves are made of here.
Yeah, as we mentioned, I think it was last week, they've got 4 games left. That was going into the Centennial game, and they needed to pick off at least one of those teams to really ensure their shot to go to the CIF postseason. Now, you mentioned Blake Barnett. He had the concussion, but still felt good enough to take a trip to Notre Dame. Got an offer from the Irish, and now he's hopefully going to be back against King this Friday. But he's only a junior, so we're talking about the class of 2015. That's the current juniors right now. So, Kyle, let's go to the class of 2015 and some of the top guys that you've got your eye on that, are on the horizon, the next big high school and college stars.
Well, you look at the recruiting rankings. I mean, it's unanimous that Shariron Jones and Tavita Halilo, the quarterback and offensive guard from Moreno Valley, Rancho Verde, are the consensus numbers 1 and 2. I mean, Jones is climbing up the boards. He's having another very, very good year. So while Blake Barnett's been fantastic, in college recruiters' eyes, he's not the #1 prize in the inland area. That would be Shariron Jones. Then we also talk about, Halalilo. I mean, there's been a lot of good talent coming out of Rancho Verde in recent years at every position. They're going to have a big offensive line prospect coming out. The other guy on the O-line that's making waves is Joseph Price at Redlands East Valley.
Big guy, he's huge.
6'5", 3-something, plays with a mean streak, kind of fits that typical offensive lineman stereotype. And he's a left tackle, which, as you know, is probably the most valuable position on the line. He could probably stay there. So he's, a huge recruit. We mentioned Barnett, the defensive backs. The inland area has produced more defensive backs going on to the college level than any other position. You have Jairi Stewart over at Centennial, Evan Tyler at Roosevelt, Darian Moulton at Chaparral, just got his first offer from Cal.
And also, if you go back to Rancho Verde, Cedric Peterson, he's a DB/receiver.
Yeah, wide receiver DB. So yeah,
I mean the Mustangs are in good hands for this year and next year as well.
Absolutely. So Rancho Verde, has 3 of the top prospects, but it looks like right now, quarterbacks, offensive line, defensive backs are the main positions out there. Vista Murrieta has 2 receivers, Colin Baker, the wide receiver, and Jamie Nunley, a tight end, that look like they have a good chance to go play D1 as well. Yeah, Shannon Walsh, their linebacker, is considered arguably the top defensive recruit in the class of 2015 from the inland area.
Yeah, the Vista Murrieta just reloads. They just find these guys just sprouting out of the ground somehow, but they're always getting those good D1 guys in there. All right, from the players to the coaches. Now, Kyle, we had a lot of change in the offseason.
16 new coaches this year.
A lot of turnover at the head coaching position. And maybe most notably was what happened at Norco, and Larry Baker stepped in. So I'm going to rattle off a couple head coaches' names. You just give me your quick assessment of each of these. Obviously, Larry Baker at Norco taking over for Todd Gerhardt.
Great job. Done a good job keeping those players, keeping a straight head. A lot of, they lost 3 of their best players, and they're coming out and they're playing tough. He deserves a lot of credit.
Vinny Fazio at Murrieta Valley. I mean, he left a Eisenhower program that was a co-CBL champion, went to Murrieta Valley, who, if people remember last year, the Nighthawks had a great season, so the cupboard wasn't bare. He walked in looking to keep that thing going, and he implemented his, strong defense and kind of what the Nighthawks did last year offensively.
Yeah, Vinny Fazio is very well regarded, and this was a big step up for him. The Southwestern League is a different animal than the Citrus Belt League, and I think there's going to be a little bit of a learning curve. They've got Vista Murrieta. We saw them lose to Great Oak, so we'll see. I think that they're good now. They'll be better in the future.
And the vacancy that Fazio left at Ike, Mike Clark stepped in, and he's been doing a good job. Yes, they had a setback against Redlands, which that was a close game, 15-14, but Clark's been doing a great job at Eisenhower.
The word that comes to mind with me from Mike Clark was underappreciated. A lot of people said, "Oh, Vinny Fazio's gone. That means Eisenhower's done." Clark's been in that system 11 years. He's helped coach up a bunch of future pros like Ryan Clady and Victor Butler, and he's a darn good football coach, and his players love playing for him. I'm not surprised to see Ike 5-2, and even with that setback, they're still a contender for a CBL title if they get a break here or there.
And, of course, the great Jeff Roney. He's a great basketball player, and he can coach as well. The Eagles started off 0-5 at La Sierra, but now they're 2-0 in the River Valley League. What does it say about Roney getting that ship, sailing in the right direction once again?
Well, it's only 2 wins. I mean, while it's nice to get those 2 wins, it's still just 2. That's still a wait-and-see thing for me. I mean, La Sierra has a long way to go. They're not in the same level of success as Eisenhower or Murrieta Valley or Norco has been thus far, but, it's a promising development.
Another first-year head coach is Deshaun Burns at Linfield Christian. Now the Lions, they could be one of those sleeper teams in the East Valley Division. Meanwhile, ACA is 6-1. How do you see this matchup?
It's tough. I mean, Linfield Christian opened in the top 10. They've kind of fallen out. Arrowhead Christian just keeps winning, and I find it hard to pick against them. I think that's a premier small school matchup. I want to take a step back. One first-year coach we didn't mention is the guy that I would make my coach of the year.
Who's that?
Dennis Brown over at Riverside.
Oh, yeah, Dennis Brown.
Dennis Brown, to me, as good of a job as Larry Baker's done, I felt like, there's a lot of talent still there at Norco coming in. You have the program, you have the coaches, the support staff. Pauly's been awful for the last decade or so. There was nothing expected out of them, and you watch them. They play tough, they play fast, they play smart. Dennis Brown is my coach of the year.
And for the most part, they didn't add a lot of new players. I think David Samuelu is the only guy who came over from North. I think that was pretty much the team they had last year. So obviously coaching making a big difference there.
Yeah, so that's my coach of the year, bar none.
Dennis Brown, you heard it here first. All right, now time for the Tell Me Why segment where Kyle and I have to make a case, regardless if we personally feel that way or not. We have to make a case for this.
Argument for it.
So Kyle, I'm going to draw one for you first.
Okay.
All right, tell me why, Kyle. Rialto will finally beat Carter this Friday night.
So Rialto has never beaten Carter since Carter opened in 06. It's really been all about Carter and Coach Alex Pierce. But the Knights, Javon Morgan, has been an absolute super stud for them. They're angry. They lost 56-14 to San Gorgonio. It was an ugly loss, but they have a chance here to still get a second-place finish and a nice playoff seeding. This is a rivalry game. They're hungry for that first win, and they have the talent to do it with Morgan and Paul Cortez and Jamel Isaac. They've got the skill guys to do it, and I think that's why they'll end up finally ending the streak.
The Knights. All right, to the next. All right.
Pep,
yes.
Tell me why Harold Strauss beats his former team Colton on Friday.
First, I want to give a shout-out to Levante Wilson. He's a real good dude at Colton, one of the star players. He's out for the season. He dislocated his wrist. So I think Colton's just kind of hampered right now by injuries, so they're not exactly at full strength. So I feel like if there was a time right now that Grand Terrace could beat Colton, this might be the season. Plus, the Titans are 2-0 right now. They're coming off a big win against Fontana, so they've got some confidence. First-year senior class at Grand Terrace, and I'm sure they want to give Strauss a huge win against Colton, against his former team, in-town bragging rights, all that stuff. Grand Terrace finally has a shot at the playoffs. I know they're young, but this is their first realistic shot at getting to the playoffs, so every game is going to mean a ton for Strauss and the Titans going forward. All right, Kyle, tell me why Heritage, I wish Coach Esposito was still around for this. But tell me why Heritage will lose its first Sunbelt League game in the Menifee Bowl.
Disclaimer, I don't believe what I'm about to say. I think they'll win. So let's start there.
Okay.
But
you've got Heritage, but you got to tell me why Heritage will lose.
Because they're going to go in maybe a little overconfident. Paloma Valley is going to come in fired up with a chip on their shoulder. Brent Baum is one of the best quarterbacks, not just in the Southwest, but in the entire county. He's going to go out, put on an aerial show. The combination of, the fierceness of the rivalry, Heritage maybe, overlooking it because they, think they're Heritage and they just got this, allows Paloma Valley to take one out from under him with Brent Baum throwing a dramatic touchdown pass in the final seconds.
I cannot believe you just said that, Kyle Glazer. I am not going to talk to you again. Okay.
He's a fellow San Diegan. We got to stick together.
Oh, he is? All right, one left.
All right. All right, Pep.
Yes.
So we have a lot of very good offensive lines in the area.
Yes.
But tell me why Redlands East Valley has the top O-line in the area.
Redlands East Valley has the top offensive line because, a guy you just mentioned, Joseph Price, right? Big guy, he's huge. They've got a young quarterback. He's a freshman right now, Armando Herrera. So I think the offensive line is now even more so under the microscope. They need to play well, help this young guy out if they're going to win some games. They're going to let him throw the ball when he can, but a lot of it's going to go on the ground, I would assume, to limit the mistakes possibly. So I think the offensive line is going to be huge going forward. So they've got to be. That's why they're the best, because they got to be at this point in the season. And that's why Rev, I think, is right there in the mix to win the Citrus Belt League title. I don't know if they'll go 5-0 or, as we saw last year, there was a tie for the CBL title, but if Rev's going to win a league championship, the offensive line has to be great. And as we mentioned, Joseph Price is one of those guys.
If I can add on to that just for a brief moment, the thing with Rev's offensive line is they've lost, they're on their third different quarterback. They've had a couple different guys going to play running back due to injuries. That team's been hurt. Their skill position guys have been hurt all year long, and everyone that steps in is looking very, very good. And while it's a credit to those individual players, I think it's a huge credit to the offensive line. They're making, third stringers look great because they're giving them time, they're giving them holes, they're giving them lanes to see everything. I think Rev's offensive line is in a lot of ways the unsung hero of this season. A lot of Rev's losses were because their defense couldn't do much. But with all the injuries to the skill position guys, the offense has actually been okay, and the offensive line with Peter Sayamalo and Joseph Price is a big reason behind that.
O-line, the mainstay, as we mentioned. If you've got a good line, you're going to have some success, even if there's some injuries to your skill position. So the Wildcats trying to protect Armando Herrera, who's actually looked pretty good.
He's looked darn good.
Through a couple games. So
I saw him before. I heard the legend, and then I saw him.
You saw him against Ukaipa, right?
I was like, wow, that's a freshman? No way. I mean, Justin Price, Ukaipa's coach, said, plays like a senior. That's about right.
So that would make him, the class of 2017?
Yeah.
So I'm looking for your next blog post about the top players from the class of 2017 coming up, because you saw 2015.
I'll wait until ESPN releases their rankings.
All right, before we go, we're going to do our players of the week. So pick your adrenaline player of the week, some guy on Friday or Thursday night that you think is going to have a big game to propel their team to a victory. Who you got?
I'm sticking here in Riverside. I'm going to go with Norte Vista running back Andrew Martinez. He's got 1,000 yards and 15 touchdowns this year. Norte Vista can pretty much seal up a league title with a win this week over La Sierra. I think Martinez is going to get the ball and ground and pound his way through the La Sierra defense and essentially clinch this River Valley League title for Norte Vista.
All right, and I've got Elsinore quarterback Tommy Wilson. Now, I love that he wears number 22. It just doesn't look right, and that's why I love it. It's just kind of awkward.
It's not quite Michigan Devin Gardner wearing 98, but,
close.
But 22 works, yeah.
That's true. So I've got Tommy Wilson. Here's my plan. So the Tigers, they did lose to Paloma Valley. But if they beat Temescal Canyon on Friday night, and Tommy Wilson will be a big part of that.
Another rivalry game.
That's another rivalry game, yes. But if they beat Temescal Canyon on Friday night, and they hope that Heritage beats Paloma Valley on Friday night, Elsinore will play Heritage in the final week of the season. If they can beat Heritage, we could have like a three-way tie for first place in the Sun Belt League. So Tommy Wilson starting tonight is my adrenaline player of the week. And he wears number 22. So that'll be awesome. So one more time, we got to thank Paloma Valley head coach Bert Esposito. And Kyle, would you like to thank Kraig Broach for coming on?
Thanks, Coach. Appreciate it.
Listen, Kyle, I didn't shave off my beard for nothing, man. I'm gonna hoist up that Menifee Bowl trophy and hoist it to the heavens when we beat Paloma Valley on Friday night and we go to 18-0 in the Sun Belt League. Do you know I've never lost in Sun Belt League play?
I did know that.
I've never lost. I'm a winner, Kyle. So we're gonna keep that going at Heritage. Yeah. Me and the Hefos, okay?
All right.
All right. So thanks for having me on the show. I appreciate it.
No problem, Coach.
You tell that Pep thanks too.
Will do.
I'm out.
Hey, Pep. Coach Broach says thanks.
Oh, I just missed them. I must have passed each other on the way out. So, and then also Mindy Cowles, another Arizona State gal.
Yep. Always, that's got to have that Sun Devil pride.
Oh, lots of Sun Devils here at Adrenaline Athletic Training. So thank you for watching the HSGameTime Live Blitz. We will do it again next Wednesday as it'll be week 9 already of the high school football season. We'll also sprinkle in some of the non-football sports this fall year. For Kyle Glazer, I'm Pep Fernandez. We'll see you next time on HSGameTime Live, The Blitz.